friends, it's Heather and I'm back tonight with another movie review. I just saw the movie Red One with my son Ben. We both really liked it. And yes, I got teary at the end, and so this movie is getting a 5 out of 5 from me. Okay, so Red One is a fantasy action comedy kind of combo. It's highly entertaining. It's rated PG-13. It stars Chris Evans, Dwayne Johnson, and Lucy Liu. The basic concept of this movie, the basic plot, is that Santa is kidnapped right before Christmas. Now, there turns out there's a very specific reason that Santa was kidnapped, which is not good. And what you don't see in the previews, I'm not really giving anything away because it happens pretty early in the movie, is that Chris Evans' character does something that unintentionally leads the bad guys to Santa. So that's how he kind of gets involved. Initially, it's that they're trying to figure out who hired him to get this information that he gave them that allowed them to kidnap Santa Claus. It's really fast-paced. It has a lot of humor. It has a really good story with some very good life lessons throughout the movie that relate to different characters at different times. It was just really enjoyable to watch. The plot had a couple different kind of, not exactly twists to it, but surprises. I definitely didn't see everything coming that happened, and so that was good too. This movie obviously had a pretty big budget. My son Ben thought they might have gone a little overboard with some of the CGI, which I can see his point, but I didn't really mind it. Beyond what was obviously CGI, there was also some really great work with makeup and costuming and special effects, which I was very impressed with overall. The story was more complex than I thought it would be and had more layers and depth to it than I was expecting from what you saw in the preview. So I was pleasantly surprised by the story. This movie kind of struck both of us as being sort of a modern, updated, more high-tech version of the Santa Claus, the original movie, The Santa Claus. And then I would also say that it had a lot of elements of like Prep and Landing and Arthur Christmas thrown in. If you've seen all of those movies and then you see this movie, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Red One is the code name for Santa Claus, kind of like the way that the Secret Service gives whoever is president and the first lady and their kids in the White House. They always all have code names, you know, like Liberty and stuff like that. It was kind of like that. His name is Nick, or Nicholas, but his code name for the purposes of like his security detail, which is the ELF, of which Dwayne Johnson is the commander. They call him Red One. Bonnie Hunt plays Mrs. Claus, which I thought was a really great part for her. As far as anything objectionable and who this movie would be good for, it is rated PG-13. There's a little bit of mild swearing, and there's one implied use of the F word, but they cut it off in the scene before he actually says it, and so that actually makes that moment very humorous. There were a couple parts of the movie that were quite scary, like almost horror movie-ish, just for a little bit. There were two distinct parts of the movie that I can think of that were kind of like, gosh, this is a little bit scary. And because of that, and also because of the complexity of the story and the way they explain things, I do think it would be better for older kids, probably like 10 to 12 and up. There is a kid who's a significant character in the movie. It's Chris Evans' character's son. And I would say that he's like middle school or maybe early high school, 12, 13, 14 years old. So about that age and then older would probably be the best age for people to see this movie. I don't think you'd want to take really young kids because, first of all, it's a little bit scary. There is quite a bit of like action and fighting violence in a few different parts, and I think that they would just be lost. I'm not sure they'd be able to follow it because it's kind of a complex plot. So it's not really meant for littler kids. It's really meant for older kids like upper elementary, middle school, and older. But adults will definitely enjoy it too. There's a lot of kind of funny references to things that I'm sure mostly adults are going to catch. Like I said, there is quite a bit of action and fighting violence. However, it was nothing that made me go, ooh, or feel like I needed to cover my eyes. There's no blood, there's no gore, just a few like fight sequences and then some perilous situations. It also definitely had lots of humor and some really good, serious, dramatic, and rather touching moments to it too. When the movie was first starting, it might have been even when the previews were still going at the beginning, Ben actually said to me, when is the last time there was an actual Christmas movie that, that was about Christmas that came out at the holidays? And he was like, would that have been like The Grinch in 2018? And he might be right. If anybody can think of an actual Christmas movie, that was about Christmas and set at Christmas that came out in between now and then, let me know in the comments, because we couldn't think of anything. This was definitely a really fun Christmas movie and quite different than anything else we've seen. It was a lot more intense and fast-paced and action-y than anything else that you've seen. And again, highly entertaining. So Red One gets 5 stars from me, and I would highly recommend it. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.